Live. I believe this is episode 250. Days in a row we've been doing this. It's building, and I can't tell you how grateful and thankful I am for everybody and what everybody's been able to do to make this what it is. Today's show will be a little different. Antonio Prescott was supposed to be here, but he had technical issues and he couldn't get video to work. So we rescheduled for I believe it's the 26th. So Antonio will be here, but not today. Chat's open and feel free to start the discussion. And what I'm willing to do or want to do is bring people on just for a few minutes today. And I can share the Restream link with you. And, that's a way for more people to participate. And it takes open chat to the next level. So, looking for anybody who wants to share first. And, really, I'm focused on what I can do to address issues that you're dealing with today. And, that's what's so important is getting value from here, being able to have some takeaways, have some new connections. There's so much one can benefit from if they just take notice, see who's who, what everybody's saying, and being able to participate. Okay, cool. Christine. Well, Christine's going to be here, but she's here now. Oh, shit, I would have gotten on for, I've got a basketball game in about 3 hours for my 10-year-old grandson. 10-year-old grandson. So I can, relate to what you're saying. Saturday's a busy day, but any presence is good presence. So thank you, Christine. Helen says she's willing to come on for a couple minutes. Really, the key is come on to share something of value. This is not a place to sell. It's not a place to promote yourself beyond just, who you are, what's your story, kind of what attracts you to this program, because, the value has to be to audience first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in comments because I don't believe, let me see. No, you can't put a link in there. So let me go to comments. Let me see where we are. Or actually, I'll just send it directly to Helen. So, and at that point, okay. Keep asking questions, keep signing up. Here we go. Okay. So basically, Helen, I just sent you the link. Feel free to use it and come on and introduce yourself. Christine, that's nice of you, Helen. Yeah, I mean, this is such a respectful, thoughtful, polite group. That in itself is worth participating for. Chris, I thought you right away for the few minutes. Kelly, actually, I'm going to have Kelly come on with me to help with the show if she's available for whatever time frame. So let me get Kelly into the discussion. And I've just sent Kelly the link also. So this is going to be a lot of fun. And it's only going to be because now people are going to see people they probably would have had to wait weeks for. Majid is here. Oh, no, Paul's here. Hey, Don, happy Saturday. Definitely would be interested in having Paul on if there's, in the schedule. Hi, sir. Thank you for coming here, Majid. I hope I pronounced your name properly. This is a really a boundary-less presentation for, that doesn't have limits, right? It's universal messaging we're putting out, things of goodwill, things of service. Helen says, who has retired who are struggling with isolation or feeling left out of technology? Well, that's a big question, and that's really something to give a thought to. Greetings, sir, from Dr. Mohammed from Dubai. Welcome. This is attracting thought leaders and just fascinating people out there. I spoke with Jason on Zoom yesterday. My cousin is a coach. I'm hoping you can help her get more invisibility. That's the key. Networking, learning about other people before you have to determine, is there something more that you can do? But it's always better to get to know people first than the other way around, and then have to figure out, if I would have just taken a little bit longer to take in the time. And there's so many people, there's no reason to rush things. Let me go back to that. I'm hoping Helen and Kelly got the links. I'm going to also put the link in the post itself, so that'll help. But yeah, I mean, the nice thing is we're starting out with great people. And here it is. I'm going to put it in comments on today's post. So I've just placed that so I don't have to individualize anymore. So yeah, I mean, Paul, if you want to get on for a couple minutes, I believe the link is in the comments. Kelly, Helen, feel free. Majid says, yes, did it correctly. Thank you. Paul, always happy to be on the show. Just let me know. Well, the link's there. Whoever wants to hit it. Okay, we've covered these. Getting back to Helen's question, with isolation, feeling left out of technology, there is so many elements of change that have taken place. And technology definitely has left some people behind and give some people a real strong head start. And that's why, again, collaboration groups are great, because there's complementation, if that's even a word, where you bring whatever you have and you're looking to fill in some gaps or some necessary elements that, you just don't have. And it's like, share what you have, look at what other people have. If there's any issue, yeah, it should be in the comments. Let me, okay, let me put it up here too. I'll just put it on the top of the screen if you can see it. I don't think you can link to it, but you can copy it. That's a lot of copying now. That's it right there. Let me see. Yeah, well, it's more to it. That doesn't work. This is a great idea if it works. Let me see, Paul. Here's the link to you. Oh, Andrea's here too. Andrea's welcome to join once everybody can figure out how to get the link. I definitely know I put it in the post, so feel free to, take it out of there. I'll actually share the screen and show you. Well, I guess if it's there, there's no reason to prove it. But yeah, if you go to comments, and it's right above today's post. So go to me, go to my profile, or just hit post, and you'll see it's the first one right above Helen's, who says, hello, want a co-pilot. And then it has all of these comments in it. So, okay, Helen's here, must have worked, but Helen's not on the screen. So let me see. Hi, Helen. Andrea, you're free to join today too. The link is in the post today. Just go to my profile and go to post, and you'll see this video playing in the background, and it should be one of the first links. So Helen, I see you, but I mean, I see you on the left bar, but not anywhere else. So anyways, great idea. If someone can figure out how they can leverage it, that's great. I cannot today. I'm with family. Just popped in to see my friend who seems to have a problem. Yeah, Antonio had a problem. Couldn't get video, and I believe Antonio's just too strong to come on and not be seen and realized. Helen, if you're there, feel free to say something. I don't think your camera or your microphone is on. But anyways, that's where we are today. So getting back to just working with chat, I guess. Paul, did you get the Kelly? Okay. Okay, we've got someone. Here's Paul. Great. It works. And Helen's trying to get on, but it's not working. So sorry, Helen. I don't know what the technical issue is. I know Paul's been on before, so maybe it's easier to identify. Oh, okay. Here's Helen. Hi, Helen. I see a chair.
Looks like she's on her couch.
Okay. Hi, Helen. Can you hear us? Okay. Sorry. We're going to have to bring you back when we can see and hear you. Appreciate it. So anyways, Paul, you're here. You made it. You know, I guess, and Helen's here one more time. Helen, can you hear us? No? Okay. Sorry,
Nope.
Helen. We'll have to do it another time. So anyways, Paul, how you been since we talked last?
I'm doing great, Don. Hey, Christine, how are you doing? Happy Saturday. Yeah, it's been a great week, and ever since I came on your show, I don't know if it's been like it felt so good that I wanted to speak more, but I've been speaking a ton this week, and I'm super excited, for everything to come on LinkedIn. And the biggest takeaway I think that I've got ever since from being in your community has just been the conversations. I use the quote all the time, but when you conquer your conversations, you conquer your world. And I think that it's really all about conversations and a relationship.
Yeah, well, for sure. And you come up with so many good insights and motivational statements. I think it's catchy. And Helen, the last chance, can you hear or see us? No.
I just see a black screen.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Helen. Another day. Wish we could have made it. Anyways, Paul. The good thing is, or the interesting thing is, you have a common thread that is really applying to so many people. And what I'm so encouraged by is people are seeing value from the get-go. So first time it's nice and interesting. And what I'm realizing, it's really bringing to LinkedIn what people want, but are really in most cases getting the opposite, right?
Yeah,
people want to get away from the spammy, scammy, salesy situations. And, by giving people a safe place, and I've actually changed my whole profile. I keep changing it to correspond to what we're talking about and what we're becoming on the program, which is, a place to be safe, a place you can find some level of support and, empathy. And also people who have been in the same boat you are, and maybe you're in it for the first time, who have been there before and can encourage you by their experience. And I think the key is people like yourself, Paul, who are showing up, who are participating, who are coming on, demonstrates the progression, how fast things can go. So what do you think about everything you've seen since you've been on the show?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway that I've gotten from what I've experienced is just that it's so different than, because I've been on probably like 10, 15 other like podcasts and live shows. And I think the biggest thing is that here it's not really talking about yourself. I mean, maybe you'll share your story and like a little bit of what you do, but it's really geared toward the audience and providing value for a lot of people. And I think that that's probably been the biggest takeaway for me, is that, it's not about me, but it's about my impact. And I think that that's been a huge thing for me to lean into, has been focusing on my impact for sure.
Yeah, well, that's great. And, it's just wonderful having individuals like you who kind of see an opportunity and want to get at the front of it. And then you can see by the quality of the guest hosts we're having, we're starting to attract a lot of people because of our message, because of our culture. Tara was on here yesterday and she was so impressed from the time she was here before as to what this has changed to.
Yeah.
We've got Christine says, hi, Paul. Kelly is at an event. Kelly's always been the leaders here and really getting in front of things and making it so possible for us to grow as well as we are. Thank you so much, Kelly. Andrea wishes she could, but she's with family. I just popped in. That's so cool where people just take a few minutes just to kind of refresh. Andrea says, bloody Saturday and not Monday. Ha ha ha. I don't quite understand, but I'm sure there's something.
Things change. You can't guarantee.
We have a microphone on. Is that you, Paul?
What was that? Oh, am I having static?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's much better. So what has changed in your LinkedIn approach since you've been watching this?
I think the biggest thing for me is really just focusing on conversations. I talked about when I first came here, it was about lead generation and trying to find people to help with finance. And then from just having conversations, it's gotten me stages and clients. But more importantly, I think I've talked to people all around the world. And one of the things that I love about a lot of my connections is that I'm so unique in the sense that there's like a massive age gap. I think when you and I talked on, we have a huge age gap, but I think there's so many similarities in terms of mindset and a lot of the things that you're doing. And I realized that some of the conversations that I have with the LinkedIn connections are conversations that I don't even have with people, in your everyday life. And I think that it's been, I guess, to an extent, like another family, that you don't ask for, that kind of just happens along the way. And I think that that's been probably, I'd say, the greatest thing, is that I've met so many incredible people and I cheer for people, and I just love supporting people and helping them.
Well, that's terrific because, it resonates with me when you say family, because one of the, saddest thing I had to deal with when I retired is I had been, I was founder and CEO of my own business for 37 years. And I had people working there with me for 30 years, 25 years, 20 years. And I considered them my second family. And actually, I spent more time with them, 9 hours a day or whatever it was, than I did with the people at home. And when you can now find a new family, a family that is relevant to where you are, who you are, and what you're doing. Because most of the people you pick up in life is at different stages of life. You meet somebody in school, you meet somebody in a family, whatever, and it's kind of potluck, potpourri, or whatever you want to call it. But when you get to now not only create your own, but integrate into one that's already in motion. Because this thing is going to, I'm already booked out for 2 weeks. And if I wanted to put all the regulars in, I'm booked out for a year.
Yep.
So with that said, the next step is expansion, right? So I'm going to be adding more programming. I'm going to be launching this collaboration group very slowly. I'm thinking maybe 3-4 people in the beginning. That's all. And really build a leadership group from that. And then be able to expand this out to maybe bring in another set of, let's say, 11 o'clock string, right? And fill those up. And then ultimately, and this is all just, looking forward, is having leaders take over groups, right? Because I can't do all and I don't want to. So, being able to involve people. I mentioned yesterday, I was listening to an Audible and the person said, tell and people forget, right? And the other one was, the last one was, well, tell and people forget, teach and people may remember, involve and people will learn.
Yep.
Right. And on LinkedIn, there's a lot of people who start with the first one, which is telling you what you should do without knowing you, knowing your situation. And it's a shotgun, spaghetti against a wall approach. The last one is actually to lock arms with people, bring them in like I'm trying to do here, because really, until you get a finished product and you're a work in progress like we are, you try things, you learn things, and by trying and learning in front of people, it's even more bold, right? When someone's just coming out of a rehabilitation, maybe got a bad leg or whatever, when they first start walking, everybody is encouraged. No one's saying, can you run a mile right now? And that really lends itself to being modest, humble, and meeting people where they're at. That's where they need to move from. Not yelling up from a cliff and say, jump, and get with us, but really lowering a line to rescue some of these people. And there's so many good people who find themselves in situations that were beyond their control, had nothing to do with anything they were doing. A piano fell off a window and fell on them or something like that. That helping hand, that friendly, I don't know you, but I care for you, versus so many people who know you and don't care for you, right? And just swapping things. Andrea says, couldn't agree more. I take that as a blanket agreement on everything we've talked about. Thank you very much. A little levity never hurts. I'm an event, sent the link to Paul. Thank you so much, Kelly. She's even helping when she's not totally here. You can't beat Kelly. Hi, Paul, from Christine. Oh, Ambambola's here.
Happy weekend. Happy Saturday, Ambambola.
And Ambambola's been here like almost every day. If you want to come on today, Ambambola, you're welcome. I can send you a link, or maybe Kelly can send you the link, because Kelly sent Paul a link and Paul got on. And every link I'm sending is just sitting there. Kelly says quality over quantity. So true, because, wouldn't you rather buy one or two really nice like shirts or shoes instead of 20 shirts that are kind of cheesy, and quality lasts. So it's not like quality or quantity. Usually what you don't put time or effort or investment in early, you got to keep doing it. I got to show their thing for people to see it. Yes. And I think that's what people are here for, is to be better and be of higher quality themselves. Right? What people should appreciate is it's not how much you make, it's who you become, because who you become will guarantee you a better economic situation. But, your biggest wealth is two things, in my opinion. First of all, your health, because without your health, nothing else is going to matter too much. And who you know, because they will help you if you deserve it. There's so many people with resources that they know they can afford to share and still be fine. They're just looking for opportunities. And that's what I tell everybody. If you're running a race and you know you can't win, run it out anyways, because that might be another shot. Someone says you tried really hard, you had desire, and I think that's the key, is run to your level. and not be so distracted. So, Paul, what are some of the lessons you've learned or some of the people here that have been of influence to you?
So I think the really interesting part that for me on LinkedIn was there were so many people that I wanted to connect with, right? And they would preach authenticity. But the biggest lesson that I had to learn was kind of one of the things that I shared yesterday with Tara. You know, you have to give first. And for a lot of these people, they didn't pay attention to my DMs or anything that I said until I would give first and comment on their post or show up to their event. And I think that that's always been something for me that I look at in terms of value, right? Is giving first and serving people. And some of the biggest people that I look at for inspiration on LinkedIn are Melissa Houston, Gretchen. I've noticed that a lot of my connections kind of run in the same crowd, and it's really about just we have it's so interesting, right? Because you'll meet somebody that maybe has like 20,000 connections, and I probably have like 1,400 or so, and we have maybe like 100 mutual. But then there's like they have 19,000, I have like 1,300 that don't even know each other. So I think that that's been a massive takeaway for me for sure.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because I picked up like a huge family through Tara. And really what happened is Tara saw a LinkedIn Live. That's how it started. And Kelly sent you the link if you want to join just for a couple minutes or say hello. You're welcome. I really appreciate the support people bring here every day, and they deserve to be recognized and appreciated because they're showing what they're doing without any other reason, but they chose to, right? And that means they're in a position where they're trying to learn, trying to grow. But getting back to the story, so Tara saw it, she reached out, give her credit for being proactive, had a Zoom that day, and we just talked. And I mentioned about doing a LinkedIn Live together, and she jumped on it, and we did it every week for months. But what was so key is she went on Trevor's show, the Saturday show, and promoted me as the connection that she wanted to share. And through that, I met Gretchen and I met Jenny, right? And then through Gretchen, I meet somebody, and that's how it works. You meet one person who has a tight family of 3 or 4 that are close to them, and they collaborate. All of a sudden, that one became 4, and now all 4 of those people have 1 to 3 that are close to them. And now if you have 8, let's say tributaries or whatever you want to call it, all of a sudden they're all expanding but coming together. And then when the show gets above the radar, then people are really starting to see it. And that's why if you look at my post, every day's post is a newsletter. So I'm actually doing a newsletter every day. If you go to it, Paul's everybody, the next 7 days of guests are tagged. So it shows every day from here who's going to be on the show. Below it, I take all the quality comments that people make, and there's probably 20 comments with 20 people's names again. At the end of this, I will tag 80 people, including everybody. The newsletter alone, just after 4 days, it's generating over 50,000 views a month because it's generating about 1,500 a day. So you get 50,000 views. You get the views on this program that are going to be seen by 300-400 people, and then who knows how many in the future. And then the tags. So it's the visibility. So many people focus on content and not audience, right? If you're not building audience, your content has a lot less value. And if you're not building frequency, it's just going to take you longer. Kelly says, sent the links so much. You're not obligated to anybody to come on the show. I just want to share my appreciation, give you the opportunity.
Yeah.
All you got to do is hit the link typically, and you get on. So with that said, it's so nice to have Paul's insights today because everybody knows, and I think the value of the program is he's genuine. This is not scripted. It's not pre-planned, and everybody's free. And that's a nice thing, because I know, to Paul's point, when you go to other people's webinars or something else, there's a real separation between the audience and the people on the stage. And the separation is not just people in two different places, but two different places in their heads, right? The knowers and the don't knowers. And the knowers feel obligated to make the not knowers, in their opinion, know like they know, believe in what they believe, and then pay them to support that. Here we got Omar. Omar says, good to see you guys. Omar from Arizona. Happy Saturday. When you get a chance, check out my Zoom. Okay, got a game show. It's really not a place to promote things. It's a way to share things that can help people, right? This is my second time listening to Paul. I heard him the first time on a show with Matt Allen, and he was awesome. And that's so key to Paul and everybody on the show, because we don't know until someone tells us, right? We can just assume, I could be talking all day, and believe me, without the audience, this would be a 9-minute Zoom, a 9-minute LinkedIn Live. And I was wondering, I'd have to wonder, what am I going to talk about tomorrow if I never got any feedback today?
Yep.
Right. So this is a opportunity that almost is like going up a down escalator, right?
Yep.
If you're building momentum, you're probably losing some. Kelly says that's what makes this special. It's real. And, that's why, honestly, somebody else could have lost their mind with people not connecting, with people not getting links, not knowing where it is. But hey, if everybody's as thoughtful to everybody in the way they want to be thought of, right? I used to have everybody work for me. I said, give me at least the same consideration I give you. If I make mistakes, and they're honest mistakes, and we learn from them, why not build from it instead of take down? And I think when people can move to constructiveness, and as opposed to cynicism, skepticism, which is again rampant, and again, with what I've heard and seen, anxiety and depression are just so rampant, and people have no outlet, no trusting group that they can share things with and feel they won't be judged or minimized. That's what I think this brings, because when people get free of themselves, they're open to do whatever they choose to do. Christine says, seeing as it's that real, I couldn't have come on from the car. I also have
you could have.
My shades on. Christine has a way of really drilling down and getting the essence of things. And here's the thing: this is a 7-day-a-week, 8 months in a program. Not everybody's going to be everything every day, right? You wake up in the morning and you have a routine, but you're not thinking of, how do I look at every second? Where do I go first? You're just living. And I think people have to live more, worry less, and collaborate with people that make them better for being around them. They say leadership is getting people to do things they couldn't or wouldn't have done if you weren't there for them. We've got somebody in France who, hello from France. Thank you for coming. Like I say, this is limitless. This has access, let's say, 875 million people. So if you see the trends and the progression, and there's a saying, the trend is always your friend. If it was
that's a good one.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, that's like anything. When you're winning, you put more in. When you're losing, you pull more out. Protect yourself. But go with what's there. Don't try to make something on your own. It's easier to just catch a ride and then innovate. What we have here, I can send you the link if you like. See, and that's the thing. When it starts to be other people in the audience working and interacting with other people, and I think I encourage people to look at what other people are doing, because there's things you get. Either you get something new and interesting you wouldn't have, or you confirm what you have is really good.
Yep.
Right.
That's true.
You know,
And I think to your point, Don, like it's so important that you talk about communication, because I like to tell people, I may have many superpowers, but I'm not psychic. I can't read your mind. And I think a lot of times, especially in business, we assume or we make like these assumptions or predispositions, and that it's really our own, projections that we project onto others. So I think that communication is so important. And one of the things that I love about your show is that you really emphasize probably, I think, the two most important parts of communication, which is, participation, but then also listening. And for me, I've been so used to like being the authority, like I speak a lot on finance and all these things. It's been so nice to take the back seat and to come on and listen. And yeah, it's so powerful to really take a step back and be the listener instead of always having to talk.
Well, and to your point, and you make an excellent point, when you have a show again that's 7 days a week, every day for an hour, there's so many times for people to speak, right? If you had a show that was once a month and you created a panel and it was a big extravaganza and you had 200 people in the audience, what chance do those 200 people even get to be heard just from their comments, let alone from their visibility? Because until you see a person, until you're with a person, do you really get a chance to know the person, right? If someone's hiding behind a profile, if that's the case, or someone's building up themselves with their comments and posts, there's no hiding when you get here. There's no other Paul behind the screen, right? And what you see is what you got. And there's something just for someone doing it, because here's another thing you have to keep in mind. When people are intimidated to do things like this, they give far too much credit to the people who do.
Yep.
Right? And it's an imbalance both ways. There's not as much fear, and it's not that big of a deal to be yourself.
Yep.
If you told somebody, prepare a presentation, get an outline, get a PowerPoint or whatever you want to do, a slideshow. Hey, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of thought, and that's a lot of risk, right? But if it says, hey, just come on with a smile.
Yep.
Come on with a joke, something happy. It's so simple. Kelly said, love that, Paul. Listening is a powerful skill. Well, they say God gives you 2 ears and 1 mouth, and you should use it in the same proportion, right?
Yep.
And I have a hard time with it, but I'm learning, and I always know when I'm not doing it, I'm not doing it, and I should, and I try. Here we go. Is audience is key to content. Audience
Absolutely.
is the content, right? And here's one thing. People who are so open to having other people share things, bringing people on who even may be considered not by me, but like competition. What I find that's interesting is so many people want to be on my show and hardly anybody invites me, And, I've had the business partner I talk about all the time who we were together for those times. And his story started with nothing, went to University of Michigan, became an engineer, went off to the war, World War II, came back, wanted to become a designer. And his uncle had a heart attack, who owned a lumber yard. And his aunt called him up and said, hey, your uncle needs some help, maybe for a few months. Could you help us out? And he said, I didn't know nothing about the lumber business. So what I did, it was Detroit, like in 1950. And Detroit in 1950 was the fastest growing city in the world, because of the oil industry and everybody coming back from the war and the highway system and suburbs and blah, blah, blah. So he says, I didn't know anything. So I went, there was at that time in Detroit, like every 2-3 miles was a family lumber store. It wasn't like Home Depot. And I invited everyone in the city, it was like 40 to come see my store if they'd let me see theirs. And everybody wanted me to see theirs. They were so proud of it. And he was a guy who had mounds of legal pads right now. He said no one saw it. No one even considered it. And he said, you know what
Yep.
happened? By the third generation, I was buying all these places up, and I had figured out the best part of every lumber store in the 49 I watched, and that's what my store became. The
Yep.
best of all these that could have never happened without inviting people to share. So,
Yep.
you know, what has really been a major experience in your life that has motivated you to be of service to other people?
I think for me, one of the most, like, I would say, defining moments of my life was when I was 17. When I turned, by the time I was 17, both my grandparents passed away. My dad passed away, and my mom was medically disabled. And I always go back to that time in my life because I remember a lot of things that I had to do on my own. And I think that was really how my whole journey to entrepreneurship started, was really just being the person for others that I wish that I had. And I think, to your point, Don, about competition, because one of my mentors gets on me all the time, is that you shouldn't be sharing this information with other people in finance. And one of the things that I always tell him is that there's 8 billion people in the world. I'm not going to be able to help everyone. And, not everyone's going to be for me, but if I can share with people the information that I know works, because there's so much financial information out there, and they're able to serve their clients, then that's going to make it less people for me to help in the long run. And I think that one of the things that people get so caught up on in social media is they get so caught up on numbers, right? Where you're looking at how many views you get or likes you get. The only number that you should worry about is one. Did something that you share make a difference in somebody's life? And every time that I have to speak or share something that's like personal or vulnerable, I always look at the fact that if it helps one person, regardless of if it's just one like or one comment, my job is done. And I think that if we looked at that approach more often, I think the world would be a different place for sure.
Well, and that gives me hope, because it can be. By one person helping one person and showing them how they can help another person can start this whole thing. And we've got 875 million people here. How, you got to ask yourself, if it's good for me, is it good for other people like me? And to your point, when you're of service first, you pre-qualify people who relate to that, and you disqualify people who don't care. If they say, I just want to know the price. Really, I don't care why you're doing this or who you are. And at that point, you're a commodity, and nobody should be a commodity. And the other thing is, you got to be so proud of yourself. You got to be so confident in yourself that you don't even listen to outside distractions from people you don't even know, who don't care about you, who won't be there for you tomorrow. It's the investments. I mean, you're a financial person. And, you help people with financial opportunities. But the biggest investment people have to make is their time.
And themselves.
That's right, because money is a result of what you do. It shouldn't be the reason for doing it. And it shouldn't be everything to you. And like I say, unless you had money, you don't know what it is. And it's not what you think. If you think tomorrow I won't have any problems. Like I say, money makes good people better and bad people worse, right? Kelly's got us. This is the longest yes for Kelly yet. I'm kind of keeping these. I just love the way people are relating to this. People are bringing love, they're bringing hearts. This is like a family get together. Like it's a celebration every day. And this is reality too. Usually a lot of times you go to a lot of rah-rah stuff. Everybody's excited. Everybody's yelling and screaming and dancing in the aisles and stuff. But when it's all over, it's all over. When it ends, it ends. To Paul's point, this is a domino ripple effect. I know people during this hour will learn things, will meet people, will change their attitude, and nothing took overnight to get to you where you are. It's not going to take overnight to get rid of it. What I was thinking on my walk today is really it's about repurposing, getting more value for what you do, redirecting your time and energy and attention to things that get you a better return on investment. And that allows you to reinvent yourself. You know, this is the 2023 model, Paul, right? And these are the new customizations I brought onto it. I mean, just like IBM, every year they release a new upgrade, a new optimization. Why not do it for yourself? And, you know, people will follow that because it's not words, it's activity. And then more importantly, or as important, results. Audience, okay, is key. Kelly says yes. Ambimbola, thanks for connecting with me, Christine. And what is that going to mean? Like I say, I connected with Tara. I ended up with a huge amount of value, right? This is the beginning, you know, and here's the key. And it takes the place of things that probably already ended with people. And that's what's going to get stronger, because people now plugging in with each other with this solidifies it. Once you can get a solid core, that's going to drive projection for a long time and attraction. And my goal is probably to have 1,000 people in groups in a period of time, and continue to have a European group, an Asian group, because everybody should be on their own time. Everybody should be with people they can relate to, you know, maybe a marketers group, there, whatever it is that 10, 12 people can get together, because that's the key from here. This is strictly mindset, attitude. I don't talk strategy. I don't talk anything, but mindset without proficiency and best practices, you're going to be running with emergency brake on. And then the other key is sitting down arm to arm, having 10 people on a Zoom screen who are around a table, and now say, hey, let's work on an issue today for somebody. You know, let's figure out how we can create a new program, you know, how we can use this network, because this is going beyond a show to a network now. You know, here's 5 time slots. What do you want to fill in? And we've already got the people. You know, so all you got to do is give them the spot. And we always got the format. So the hardest thing is getting to where we are, because that was something that no one could know. It was kind of organic, and it kind of, there's all fortuitous element to it. Kelly says people feel support, joy, love when they listen price, because, you know,
absolutely,
what they feel is what they've been looking for. You know, if you get something, a treat, right? Like maybe you love lobster and you just, every so often you want a lobster. If you have it infrequently and the need is always, or the hunger for it, once you get it, it tastes so much better because it showed up for you. How many times have you been waiting for something and never showed up, or showed up in the form you weren't expecting? But, you know, when you can deal with things like joy, love, and you can deal with people who acknowledge joy and love is what they need. Too many people feel vulnerable or weak to say, I'm looking for love, or I've got love to share, you know? And you know, how do you clap with one hand? You can't, right? But when you get 2 together, you can make some noise. And I think that's important. And if you can think in pictures, if you can think in 4-word elements, you know, there's a saying, if you don't have time to do it right, do you have time to do it over again? Right? And why not measure twice, cut once? And if you don't know, share it and say, what's your thought before I make the cut? You know, and that's what I'm doing with this collaboration group. I'm not doing anything independent. I'm involving people with opinions, advice, sharing, you know, because you got to get sign off. You know, you got to, you know, the only thing you have really that makes a difference on LinkedIn is commitment. You got to be committed. You got to dedicate time, and you got to be willing to invest in yourself, right? Build your own dream, not somebody else's. You know, why not do something for yourself for a change? And after a while, it's not selfish, because here's one more thing. If you've ever been on a plane and they say in case of whatever, the oxygen mask will drop down. And they also tell you when they do, put it on yourself, not your children. Why? Because the children are not going to help anybody, right? If you got the oxygen on you, now you can help everybody else. And that's why it's important. And there's a saying in business and other way, pay yourself first, right? Because if you don't allocate that, you'll be the first to pay and maybe the last to pay. And one thing I like about Paul and Kelly and Gretchen and a lot of other people, they have real business background and experience, right? And when you get business perspective with something, you start understanding to be sustainable, it has to have a lot of value. And then people have to see the value and support it, right? Everybody's paying it forward with strangers. Pay it forward with yourself first and then share it with others. And, I'm telling you, I've been in these deals a couple times with Walmart.com, with a few other players. When you're riding a whale, you need all the support, all the help you can get. But I'll tell you one thing, it's the best ride and one of the rarest rides you'll ever be able to get, and whether it lasts a day or a lifetime, you want to be there. You want to feel the wind at your face. You want to see you're hopping along the ocean. You almost look at yourself as interesting and amazing. And when that happens for you, it happens for everybody around you. So, Kelly, that you're priceless, and so many people are priceless because just like family, there's never enough. And as you get older, you're doing more subtracting than adding, right? You hold on to what you got and honor what you have. But when you can also say, geez, I can get 10 adopted members of my family. I can get a couple of sisters I never had, or that I lost, or I got an older uncle now, or hey, this guy reminds me of my granddad, why not tap into it? And, we should go where other people don't go. We should go, if it's 80% of people between 18 and 34, we should be the island that the 50, 60, 70-year-old people go to that have 50, 60, or 70-year-old challenges and opportunities. And the best thing to do is balance, get old with new, you name it, Paul.
No, I was going to say, it's funny that you say that that's the average, Don, because I want to say like probably 90% of my connections are older than 30. So I haven't really met very many people in my age group on here, but I was thinking about this the other day, Don, and I'm curious, like your thoughts, right? And I think so many times in business, we tend to make things so much more complicated than it actually is, right? And I was looking back at like trying to do different like marketing or finance strategies when it came to that, and I was like getting so caught up in like data and all these numbers. But at the end of the day, the thing that people relate money to the most is like freedom and options. And I started to realize that it's truly about providing people freedom, and giving them peace of mind. And we're in a time right now where so many people they don't have that. And I'm curious, like, what is like your biggest piece of advice, to share some value with the audience? How did you simplify things so much? Because I'm sure, like, from what you shared of so much about your business, this massive business, you were doing so many things. You make it seem so simple. I'd love to know, how did you do that?
Well, it took a lot of time. When I started my business, with me, my wife, and my French poodle that we named Rocky after the mountains here. And we were just married in Vegas. It was one of those, just us marriages. I think we had $100 into it at the time, and we were both on unemployment. And then we came to Denver. I got a real estate license. My wife has a teaching certificate. So we had things we could do. But then we decided, I was in business in Detroit for 4 years. Make a long story short, we opened a store, and it failed. First day, no one came in. All our money was in a car that we borrowed on. I told my wife, we're going to probably have to take a bus home if this don't work. And it had to work because at one time we said, why don't we just live in a store? We're here 7 days a week. By the time we get back to our place, all we do is sleep. We never got to that point. But make a long story short, the first time we were eligible for Inc. 500, we were the 162nd fastest growing business in the country and the fastest growing business in Colorado. We were growing at 300% a year for 5 years. And the following year, Bill Gates was 162nd with Microsoft. Now we're talking back in the 80s, but and naturally he went on and whatever, but it became so big, it became, all across the country to a point. Then we got into a lot of other stuff. I was making decisions like boom, 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 right and left. You know what I mean? Launch this. I mean, when you're growing that fast, you're signing new leases, you're hiring new people, buying equipment. I mean, you just got to keep doing stuff, right? And after a while, you just accept things are going to not work out, right? I mean, anybody who's been baseball, if you can bat 300, you're going to make 20 million a year at least. In business, 300, it depends on where your priorities are. But to your point, I didn't take anything personally. I tried to be the better person. But what was most important that drove my whole business, because when you have no money, the only hope you got is other people. And I was young, I was in my 20s then, I attracted so many good people, and people nobody thought were good. People that people looked over because a lot of them never went to college. A lot of them, whatever, didn't really show that well, possibly. But down deep, they had a heart. And that's all I was interested in, desire, compassion. And someone who's been beaten down never forgets what it is to be beaten down. And the reason I hired these people, I was those people. I couldn't get the job I wanted. I was turned down for jobs I didn't even want, I couldn't get. Right? And at a certain point, you get to the point of nobody wants me, I'm going to hire me. Right? And I'm not going to depend on somebody giving me something or offering me something. I'm going to earn it. And then when you find, just like this group, that's why it's working. I was in top 10 workplaces almost every year in Denver. I had nobody would leave. I overpaid. And I not overpaid, I paid a premium. Right? Because that premium, if you're in accounting, saved me from shrinkage, saved me from turnover, saved me from training. So why not take those costs that everybody, like shrinkage usually be like 2% or something. If you can take that savings because of the people, you can share more of it and they earn that premium. And then people you look out for you. So new people would come in. If you had 30, 40 people who loved what they were doing, loved the future of the company, they're the ones that are going to tell people, hey, stop doing that. They're not going to be waiting for the boss to show up. So it's really being in another person's shoes, being the better person, and being there for people. I can't tell you how many times I had people come to me they say about 90% of Americans are 1 month away from the street. If they lost their job and in 4 weeks nothing happened, they'd have issues. Well, I told everybody, if you got an issue, you come to me. And I can't tell you how many people my sister died. I got to get to Kansas City. I got no money, right? And I'd say, well, you got tickets. And it was always me. Well, Helen's here. Helen didn't give up. Let me get her on once I have this. Sure, Paul, sharing something beneficial is more fulfilling than anything can even imagine. So I can go on and on why I simplify things, but they even say on LinkedIn, talk to everybody like they're a 10-year-old, because then everybody will understand you. You're never going to leave someone behind. Helen is here. Helen, welcome. What was it that you did that got you on? Or maybe don't even say if you don't want to.
And opened up a desktop. I've been trying to do massive week, and I finally, one of the I've never Cisco Web, Zoom, GoToMeeting. I'd never stream.
Oh no, I get it.
So,
you tried it all. So Helen, you know,
The
go ahead.
modern. It's this cracked me up. It said, "Get a modern." Brad just got this iPhone 11, and it's like, you mean I'm not still in the?
That's
Well,
funny.
the main thing that's right is you can laugh about it. So Helen, you've been, you know, a part of the audience over time. What has this show meant to you, or what do you see in the show?
I just love that you are me. I mean, you look that way. Maybe looks are deceiving.
No,
But
I hope
you do this improv, extemporaneous improv, because something we can speak from the heart in alignment with our mind. We don't even really have to think, because we've said it so many times. It's part of our DNA. So, problem with my phone and these glasses and the fact that you see, I'm cold reason here, and my electric bill. I've been running at 53. My electric bill was triple, and it overdrew my checking account. The reality of living as a senior citizen in modern is pretty challenging. And so the fact, gosh, Helen wants to talk. Oh, everybody perceives I'm trying to sell them something. Trying to, and so it's, oh, because you just, the way you said it was like, oh, I'm trying to sell something. No, we have to sell. Our idea is this. Now, I'm that you liked my joke, and I can't. You know, you were coming on at the time I was troubleshooting. I would like to know the young man's name who has the earphones on.
Well, that's Paul.
Paul.
Oh, hi.
Yeah, and
Hi, Helen.
Oh, hi. Okay, because that was my father's name for 92 years. And
Wow.
Jackie. And my father taught me, I was 3 years old when I went, that made everybody so happy. So when we see somebody's bright, you know, we're engaged, we're so excited because everybody's happy. Your old brain, boom, that anchors. That is how our neural pathways are being laid. I had so many of those fabulous moments in my early 0 years old, that when my father came home from work and said, to Kansas, I was like, everybody was like, what? We have a new house. We love our neighbor, new car, you know, and why are we going to move to Kansas? We've been to Kansas one other time, and I didn't remember it because I'm not quite 1 year old. So, you know, back they didn't have those car seats. Where would I have been in that car? I would have been in my mother's arms in the front seat, because my older sister remembered riding in her kitty car next to a little tiny castle.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Helen.
I'm telling.
But your voice is breaking up. Your microphone's having issues. So, you know, just to cover, you can say something, Helen.
Yeah, is that better?
I think so. So far, you haven't broke up. But let me share Ambambola's comment.
Okay.
Sure, Paul, sharing something beneficial that will make at least one person's life better is more fulfilling than anything you can ever imagine.
Absolutely.
What do you say, Paul?
Yeah, you know, it's funny because one of the things that I always tell my clients, because I started in banking, right, where it was always about the bank. Probably 90% of the work that I didn't get paid commission for. And I used to always tell people, you know, it doesn't matter how much money or anything that you're going to get. I'm always going to win the trade because I get to change your life. And I think that when you look at that as being, that's my currency now, is like, how can I impact people? Because kind of like to your point, Don, when we were talking, it doesn't matter how much money you have or all these accolades. I mean, at the end of the day, your time's going to be up here. And the only thing that's going to really matter is, did you make a difference in the world? That's why I'm big on books and speaking, because it's like, after my time is up, people are going to be able to get to read the books, to pull things that I learned. They're going to be able to go back, and if they have a story similar to mine, relate and see somebody who they can look at, that they don't even know, because that's what a lot of my mentors have done for me. And it's funny, because I think you and I were having this conversation one day, Don, but a lot of the people that I have who are like mentors and are closest to me, it didn't matter if I was like a billionaire, trillionaire, like I had all the money in the world. There's no amount of money that I could give them to repay them for everything that they've done for me. So that's why I just focus on paying it forward. And every time that I'm in a dark place or things aren't working out, I help somebody, and I tell myself, try and complain, try and bring that negativity when you brought so much joy and excitement to somebody's life. And I've never been able to do that. So I think that that's a huge mindset shift. I always tell people, attach the people closest to you to your goals, and try to use the same excuses that you tell yourself, oh, I don't think I'm good enough, or I don't think it's worth it. You wouldn't say that to your kids or, your parents. And it's been transformational for me.
Oh, that's so great. And this is a gift to, like you say, because your legacy lives on. If this show becomes a major eye opener, mind expander, people will remember kind of who started it, how it started. This is the history that's yet to be made. And the other thing is, everything I'm saying as far as sayings and inspirational things, I learned and got from someone else, so it honors them. Their life continues through me. My life will continue through the people who get this. So, you're taking a ride with people when you support people and you give value to people, because it shows them that they should do the same to get what you get. Because it's like, hey, this person gave me, and look at who they are and what they are. Maybe I should follow in their actions and not in their possessions, right? And get good enough that the value pays me, not someone pays me so I can figure out the value or provide some. So in most cases, it's prioritization. Some people put number 2 first and number 1 third, and they put all the time and effort, but it's not coordinated, it's not synchronized. And you got to be worthy of your own love.
Yep.
You got to love yourself first before anybody else is going to love you. And then you got to show love to other people to expand your love capacity, right? How much, test yourself. How much can you love today? Find 20 things you love. It's easy. Music you love, people you love, places you love. Make it 100. Why stop? Because when you stop, what are you going to fill in with? And that's why I never thought that much of myself, and I still don't, because everything I've ever been able to accomplish was with teams. And I know I couldn't have made it with them, and they might have made it without me, enough of them, but that's not the point. You want to take a little bit of something big that will sustain itself, that will duplicate through others, and can expand throughout the world, and make this a message that everybody needs, wants, but can't get full access to. To Paul's point, everybody can get access to information, but it gets so crazy out there, right? You're bombarded by everybody who can, and you got to filter it. So my feeling is elevate, get into the lifeboat with people like you, who love you, care about you, and you got the benefit of both things, which is not distraction or interruption or intrusion, but support, collaboration. And, it's so happy to live through others, to live vicariously. I know in my mother's later years, everywhere I took her, I would just stand back and watch her have fun. You know, she used to like to go to Vegas. So I take her to Vegas and she got VIP, limousines, VIP, the whole, I told all the casino hosts, she's the only person you got to focus on, right? Because this is her trip. And she, you know, and she was so thrilled. There were times when she was playing her slot machine and she didn't play for much. And she didn't even know I was like 30 feet away watching her, just having a ball. She turned into like a 7-year-old. She was so innocent. And that was my trip. That's one in a million. I mean, there were probably people making thousands at the craps table or something. That was their trip. But I was packaging up for future memories. You know, that's something I wanted to save for the future. And when you can get that mindset where you're doing so much good for so many people, you can't even ask yourself, is this worth it?
Yep.
Right?
Right.
And
So may I interject a little bit there? And you were talking about, you know, what we pass and what we learn from them is way more valuable material possessions. But guess what? They all left me their material possessions, inundated with material possessions. I lived on a 20 of these outbuildings, and then in 2010 I moved to town because I speed internet out there, and so now I own a walkable town that has an opera house that holds 350 people. My Zoom 100 people. And so for us lonely senior citizens that want to actually have and talk about books, people say, oh, you need to write a book, Helen. It's like, no, I don't. Too many books. They're inundated by information. What we need is support to know who's trustworthy, who's scamming. And I have my stories are factual. For having patience and letting me come on, because now we are successfully blending this Restream and Zoom. So I finally can record of blending technology. I know we can, you know, what I do live, I like, you know, every time I try and click on somebody's profile, it cuts me out of being able to hear what you're talking about. And it's no time like the present be building networks with people while you're talking. But when I try, I can't hear what you're saying. So that's why Zoom and my capacity for it's free. So my father he was a research scientist, and he was, and I loved watching him fix things. So when we learn serving, and we're all teachers, all of our behavior is teaching, because I don't like when I have to be, when I'm whale mama, I'm a fire hose, I can take space and do a one-woman show, but I'm not trying to do a monologue. So thank you for letting me.
No, and it's great to have you on, because seeing is believing. Just seeing a comment on the sign with a name, now you got a personality. Now you got a person. Now you got a heart, right? I mean, these are all things that have real value to real people. Thank you so much, Helen Ross. And we're actually over time, but because it's Saturday, I'm not, because usually top of the hour, I know during the week, people got things to do based on the hour. Ross says, people are mirrors. What you shine on them, they shine back on you. I respect people who are kind. I love my family and my friends, but I like hot wings, cold beer, and fast dancing. Well, you know, there, you know, one thing, and that's so cool. And then just sharing that, right? Because now everybody knows Ross as a dancer, a drinker, and a hot wing guy, you know, and I'm sure we'll be using all of those tomorrow for the Super Bowl. But that's the cool thing, is where else could you feel free to come on for the first time and share that with a lot of people, which makes it say, hey, if Ross can do it, I can do it. And to Helen's point, you know, if people are challenged, be open about your challenge.
Yeah.
You know, vulnerability is not just sharing feelings. It's saying, hey, I've got an issue with my iPhone. and anybody out there can help me, right? That's the thing is you don't want to give people anything. They say you can't make a sale and unless someone's already stated they need what you have, right?
Yep.
If they don't say they need what you have, you're like trying to fill a bottle without taking the cap off. And so, Paul, kind of wrapping this up, and if there's anybody with any other comments, this has been a great show because it's been a total
unplanned.
I'm saying, with Antonio not making it on the thing, with the link not working, with Helen not being able to get on, you know what it shows you? Reality. This is how life works. It isn't, and that's why I hate planning something, because to Helen's point again, this is like improv. And if you're really good with spontaneity, with reacting to things that are just showing up in front of you, right? You're far stronger for doing it, and you're more forgiven because everybody knows you couldn't have rehearsed this. If Helen asked me a question, I got to answer or turn it over to somebody, but they know it's in the moment. They're in the moment. And here's one thing for sure that's universal. Everybody's now is everybody else's now. So the next second is all of our seconds. And what do we want to do with that second? And here's the thing. If you go to the gas station, right, you want to fill your tank up most of the time. You don't want to put a quarter tank in and 2 days later put another quarter tank in. When you come to a show like this, that's a fountain of love, sharing, get all you can, load up, right? This is the place that gets you going for the next 3-4 days. You know, in some of my darkest times, I needed something, some encouragement, some spiritual support, like every 3 days, right? So I go to a situation or a service or someone on Wednesday night, have to come back. It was enough to get me to Sunday, right? Which would then get me enough to get me Wednesday. And it kind of like getting some new gas tanks that you can attach while yours are still not quite right. Ambimbola says, it's cool to be kind. I love to have Ambimbola on the screen. It makes a difference. Ross comes back with, I drink bone dry Shiraz wine and play the piano. Most people hear me drink wine. Well, you know, sense of humor is everything. You know, what I find is laughter is the best medicine. You know, sometimes when you find yourself in the worst situations, you almost got to chuckle. It's almost like, how did this ever happen? You know, and sometimes you got to look at it like surreal. And some of the worst times I had to detach. You know, there's times like, this is too heavy. You know, I'm just going to like move beyond this for a while. Or sometimes when you get severe tragedy, someone dies suddenly or by surprise. You know, in the beginning, I was so affected by those things. And then I just learned this is going to take a lifetime to get over. You know, why try to squeeze it into 2-3 days? And why do you want it over so quick? You know, why not take the time to remember the good times, to remember how valuable they were, you know, because I was just thinking about this. You go to funerals and you always got some relative or something that says, you know, I was just going to call that person, or I meant to visit them, and look at what happened. And, you know, after a while I say, you know, you got 80 other family members. Who are you going to call this week? You know, we're going to visit. So, yeah, you can't. Helen, we're going to close up, but Helen, you got one more opportunity. Say what you got to say. We love hearing from you.
And that's precious, because that doesn't clutter, you know, and that's why I use my Zoom to help people live in the now and to share their trauma and their drama. And this is a campus to help people who were neglected, betrayed, and who have people in their life that did have a problem with alcohol because they detached. They couldn't share their pain. So dancing and laughing and fun improves function, but I don't goodness around me, my children, or around these people who are rehabbing. What Wellness Weavers is we serve for free. It's all volunteer time. When we have free, I say it runs on our All Stars, and because it's in Kansas, and because this town was formed by Earhart's grandfather, it's really fun to be now able to flight just because I have Zoom and it's free, not just today. I say it's free every day in every way, whenever I have free time or I've stand in my place. So please understand what it is like to be Wellness R1. I never put my name on the business card. I delighted in handing it to the people and saying, being one of the wellness weavers, and there's benefits if you get on the website. But I took down the website, ADA compliant, and first time fines for all of you who go sites. If you do business, and should I say the name of this printing business? Because when I
think you can share it with people outside of, but I don't think it's going to.
Okay.
Helen,
we're up against some very do not want citizen empowerment, and they don't want wellness to be the foundation of support programs.
Well,
so
here's what I would suggest is what I'm seeing this program morph into and evolve is people who see people they relate to, and then after the show make the message
the connection.
Right.
Yep.
So if you have 15 people and you've got something to share with them, share it directly with those you choose. And the other thing that you really demonstrated, which I have a lot of high regard for, is you match the common thread of people on the show. And I can tell you, Jenny and Kelly, people who do a lot of volunteer stuff, a lot of good stuff for people, don't get much benefit, materially for it, but spiritually. And, it gives them reason to know they're better than people give them credit for. And that's what the show is about. It's about heart. It's about soul. It's about sharing, and those are universal. One thing, too, is everything changes so quick in so many ways, but other things don't change at all. And I think that's where old school and experience makes a difference, because you had to work so much harder with so much less to get so much more done. And if people have never been through that, and all of a sudden everything's there for them, everything comes to their door, everything comes to their email or their text, there's such a huge advantage for people who have worked the long game, the hard game, and that's where I see old school starting to be more appreciated, because it's not going to be here forever. There's nobody behind me that's done what I've done. It's going to be the people 10 years younger. And after that, it's like life is like an escalator. You start at the beginning and you look up and you see these old people, and you never think you're going to be that way, right? or it'll be 100, and before you know it, you're at the last step of that escalator, and everybody's following you. But anyways,
but
it's
the age. Our spirits never age.
and here's
we're
the thing.
Allowed to improve function.
That's so true, Helen. And what I tell people, and I don't believe in ageism. I don't believe in ascribing to be in any group that's being taken advantage of or prejudiced against, because that's just bad. That's ignorance.
It's bad business.
It's bad form, right? So the key is you're only as good now as your next thought and your next talk, right? And whoever you are, that's what makes you relevant in the moment. And because of technology, mobility isn't an issue anymore. That used to divide the young from the old, where, when I'm 30, I could be on a plane 4 days a week and love every minute of it. When you get to a certain age, hey, this is a pain. This is trouble. I don't need it. But all I got to do is belly up to the desktop. That's all I got to do is hit a button. I can talk. I'm gonna have something for the next 20 years possibly
Yep.
that I can have pride in, because this is too good to stop here. And I believe it can't be stopped anymore.
Yeah, this is our quality nursing home. We're ambulatory. We want to stay in our own homes. We want us. We want to have people that are young enough to help us recognize scam instead of going around the world to elder hostels. We can go to an elder hostel. So
Well, and here's the thing, Helen. It's the message, not the messenger,
Yeah.
right? And what we have is a message. It doesn't matter who delivers it. Paul could deliver it. You can deliver it, because if it is universal, if it's timeless and evergreen, right?
Yep.
yes,
Things like respect, love,
Yeah.
Compassion. I mean, when you look at someone's balance sheet, these are in the intangible column. Somebody that says, where does he live? What does he drive? What does he do? What does he make? That's all the shell. You know what I mean?
Yep.
The intangibles are how nice a person is it? How giving a person. Paul, closing up, I will just say,
It's just
I drive home. Okay, we covered that. One who splits one own's wood is twice warm. Makes sense to me. Good saying. So, Paul, you were an unexpected surprise today. You almost have to give credit to things that didn't work to make what happened work. And that resiliency, that's being able to be responsive to the situation. And really, it's when you don't know what you're doing in your situation, it's a tough. Paul, close the program up for us, and what your takeaway is today.
I think my biggest takeaway is, get comfortable being uncomfortable. That was kind of my movement last year, was just doing things that I was either afraid of or that I would never do. And I think that the interesting part about coming on this show is normally when I speak, like, I dress more professional, like all these things. And I saw in Don's show that he sent it and he's like, well, if you want to come on, come on. And I was like, well, it'd be better to do it with him instead of have him do it on his own. And look at the great conversations that came. So I would just share to everyone, one of the transformational things I learned last year is one of my mentors, who's like a massive billionaire, he was telling me that I want to share a secret with you. And he said that everything that you think that I do, like, fearlessly, I'm actually afraid, but courage is doing things scared, not being fearless. So I think that was really what today was all about, because I had no expectation to speak. I just got off of supporting Melissa Houston on her coffee chat for a couple of hours, and it's been a great conversation, Don. So I want to say thank you for inviting me to your platform and allowing me to speak.
Well, thank you. And thank you, Helen. It's a pleasure to see you and hear from you. And thank the whole audience for being here today and making this what it is something we try to do our best at, right?
Yeah.
And that's all that matters. My slogan now in the collaboration group is build bigger, better, and kinder together, and kinder being the key word. And that resonates. Life gives you everything you need. You just got to be ready to accept it, and accept it in a way that matches how it's been given. So, okay, with that said, it's a half hour beyond, but I think this is the fastest hour on LinkedIn Live anyway, so it justifies itself. So thank you, Helen. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, audience. Rest up, come back in 23 hours, and we'll keep this going. So take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Y'all.
Have a great weekend.
You bet.
Thanks.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Helen.
Do these
Bye.